We'll go ahead and get started with this meeting of the Gallatin Municipal Planning Commission. It's a work session meeting for Monday, August 7th, 2023. And we'll begin with a public comment on agenda-related items. Is there anyone in the audience who would like to speak in regards to any item on the agenda? For those who may not have a copy of the agenda, let me read through the items we'll be discussing very quickly tonight, if I can get this to scroll. We have item 2 is 455 Lakewind Drive, a garage site plan. Number 3 is 1714 and 1750 Hartsville Pike. It's an annexation and plan of service. Item number 4 is Tompkins Farm, a rezoning with preliminary master development plan. Item number 5 is Snow's Family Residence, a rezoning without PMDP. Item number 6 is Beretta USA Phase 3 Site Plan Amendment. Item number 7 is Nexus Subdivision Phase 1 South, Section 2, a final plat. Item number 8 is Nexus Subdivision Phase 1 South, Section 6. Item number 9 is 750 Airport Road, Phase 1, a final plat. Item number 10 is Savannah Marketplace, Phase 2, an amended preliminary master development plan and revised final master development plan. Item number 11 is Savannah Marketplace, Phase 2, Section 2, Lot 4. It's a minor plat amendment. Item number 12 is 7 Brew Coffee, final master development plan. Item number 13 is Patriot Angels, a wedding venue, amended preliminary master development plan and revised final master development plan. And item number 14 is Sky House Townhomes, a final master development plan. I probably should have read those first. I'll repeat the question. Is there anyone who would like to speak in regards to any of those items? Again, if you will, when you come forward, if you'll state your name and address for the record, we'll get that in the minutes. Thank you.
I'm Mike Binkley. I live at 236 Timber Lane. Lived there for 35 years. And I met with the developer today, Stan Fields, and his staff, and had a nice meeting. And I just saw this plat today. It's the first time I've seen it. I'm real concerned with Timber Lane. I live at the very end of Timber Lane, where it dead ends. I was initially told probably put 8 houses on Timber Lane with 8 different drives. If you'll count, there's 22 houses on Timber Lane now, this development. And the road comes back into Timber Lane right there at the top of the hill. That's one of the narrowest, steepest roads in the city of Gallatin. And I was told, well, we're going to widen the road 4 feet. I think it's 16 feet now. We're going to go to 20 feet. The intersection there of Timber Lane and East Main, extremely dangerous. If you pull up to that intersection and you look back to the right toward the Sudbury's house, blind hill, you cannot see over it. And really, to get out, if I'm in my truck, I have to kind of catty corner there so I can see back to the right. And in the 35 years I've lived there, I've only been one accident there where somebody was killed. And I was on the site before the police, before the fire department. Somebody topped the hill coming from the country club side. There was somebody trying to turn, had to avoid that, hit a telephone pole right there on the corner, and killed the guy. I just can't imagine that we can't come up with a better plan and keep all of these houses off of Timber Lane. And y'all are looking at the plat, I'm sure you have. The Tompkins live down here. There's very, very little development backed up to them. Seems to me like all the development's been pushed over toward Timber Lane. So I just think that's a real concern. I think that's something that can be addressed and resolved. And I hope the Planning Commission will work with the neighbors and the city to make this happen. Thank you for your time and your consideration.
Thank you, Mike. Is there anyone else who would like to speak? And if there's anyone else who would like to speak, please feel free to come up and kind of line up here by the table. We'll make sure everyone gets a chance to speak.
So my name's Joshua Powers. We've been there about 4.5 years.
Would you mind giving us your address?
Yeah, it's 169 Timberlane Drive.
Oh, go ahead, Mr. Powers.
And no, just the same thing. The other thing I question is it seems like it's pretty wet over on that side of the area all the time. So I just question that whole thing. I have 2 kids, and I'll just say it. If that happens, we're moving for sure. And my wife's going to be very pissed off. She'll be here next time. But anyway, I agree with the same thing. I just don't understand why aren't we moving those over to their side. That's even, I think that land's even going to be better land for house building because that is very steep. You know, it's a small driveway. So that's all I got to say.
Thank you, Josh. Let's come forward.
Hi, my name is Brandon Bearden. I'm at 165 Timberlane Road. I didn't have a whole lot of time to prepare. I wish I had more time to take into account everybody else's concerns. Unfortunately, all my concerns are going to sound pretty selfish because all I had time to think about was myself right now. I appreciate the opportunity to voice this, but just want to second the opinion of my neighbors, Mike and Josh. My wife and I relocated here from Houston, Texas about 7 years ago. We were in the heart of Houston, Texas, inside the inner loop with 6 million people. We were so grateful to get to a place like Gallatin, Tennessee with 30,000 people and have privacy and trees and cows in our neighborhood. It was something special, we felt like. I guess having the street widen cuts into all of our property, or it could come from the Thompson's farm, but I don't see how this adds to our experience of living in Gallatin right now. We love the privacy, we love the environment, we love the people that we live with, and it's the environment and the road that we live on that provide for that experience. I appreciate the opportunity to share. Thanks so much.
Thank you, Brandon.
Good afternoon. My name is Michael Foster. I live at 223 Timberlane Road, and just like to address concerns that the other neighbors have. One of my biggest concerns is the safety of that road, and I think that's been expressed. The road is called a lane for a reason. It's very narrow. When Mr. Jones, Randy Jones, was building the Woodlands, at the end of that road, before Ray Darce built, the trucks, the dump trucks, were running up and down the road to develop the Woodlands, which he has the right to do that. But the mayor at the time was Don Wright. And I went to Don Wright's office, and I had 4 children at home at the time. And when you top that hill at the end of Timberlane, it's blind. And the trucks were running up and down the road like trucks do. And occasionally my wife would have to take the kids to school or someplace. And I told Mr. Wright, I said, when they top the hill and there's a major accident, there's a major problem. And to his credit, the next day the truck stopped. Mr. Binkley addressed the idea of when you leave Timberlane, at the end of that road at East Main, when you turn the right-hand side, that hill is blind, and people do fly over that hill. And I guess you have to live there to realize that you do have to swing over to the left-hand side of the road to get the vision to turn left. It's a major concern of safety. So I hope you will consider that in your discussions. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, Mike. Is there anyone else who would like to speak? Seeing none, I'll close the public comment, and we will move directly into item number 2, which is our first item. It's 455 Lake Wind Drive. It's a garage site plan structure. Which staff member is presenting this?
Kyle Martinez, planning staff. The owner and applicant are requesting approval of a site plan for 455 Lakeland Drive. This would allow an addition of an accessory structure on the property zoned R15. The addition would be approximately 30 by 50, and the reason for the site plan needing Planning Commission approval is because the proposed elevations would not meet the existing residence. Planning has asked for more information, including labeled setbacks, elevation drawings, and a possible list of neighbors with similar structures in the neighborhood.
Do we have a representative for the applicant or the applicant themselves here tonight? All right. I'll open the floor to questions addressed to staff then.
I was gonna say, I don't know that there's any questions. You guys have asked for the architecture and the elevations and similar buildings, so it seems like it's pretty typical of other issues we've had.
Apart from that, it was just getting some more information in regards to location, because we assume that wherever this drawing is the accessory structure, which looks to be over a fence. It's also kind of offset. So again, just more information regarding placement.
Yeah, I am concerned about how it comes up on that neighbor's side yard with it being, it's the corner house. I'm
So
confused.
this is the front facade. Yeah, the front side as well, even though the driveway is on the side. But the placement is a little awkward. We just, again, want to know exactly where this is going to sit in relation to the rear and the side of the property.
It could almost become the front yard of Timberwood, right?
Yeah.
What are those other buildings behind there?
No information at this time.
I just think we need more information.
Any other discussion or questions? We'll see none, then we'll discuss it in a couple of weeks. Oh, we'll discuss it next week. Item number 3.
Yes, this is a request for the annexation and plan of service of 1714 and 1750 Hartsville Pike. This is located just south of the new Gateway Drive intersection along Hartsville Pike. And I did include a map. You can see the blue line is the city limits line, and the red line is showing the property that is requesting annexation. So this is a contiguous annexation. And I believe the engineer wanted to give a brief presentation.
I was going to give a brief presentation, but I'm probably, Jim Harrison, CSDG, probably just going to read off a few statements. One of the things that we're kind of dealing with right now is we realize this is just for annexation. This is not for the plan that we're proposing, but thank you. But we also realize we've got a traffic signal at Gateway Drive right up there at Hartsville Pike. So it creates a little bit of an unusual situation. We're located so that we need to prepare for access for other people around us, not just us. So we've been working through a plan. We are planning to put in a boulevard entry into that traffic signal with a very attractive median. It'll be configured in a way to access not only our property, but the property to the east, which is quite a bit larger than us. But being at that traffic signal, it creates a lot higher capacity, quite frankly. And from a land use standpoint, we have urban to the north, we have suburban to the west. We're actually currently a rural land use. And so as we work on the plan, I just wanted to, in the spirit of being transparent as much as we could, we're sort of teetering back and forth on that line between the lower level of suburban and the upper level of rural, largely because we've got a traffic signal right there at Hartsville Pike and the infrastructure's there. It makes sense. But I wanted to be transparent and come tonight and say that. We do have stream buffers and large open spaces on the south side of the plan that we're anticipating we will protect and preserve. We do have existing vegetation along the perimeter of the site. That's part of what we're looking at is those transitional buffers, because on the west side of this property, we've got an older subdivision, larger lots. That's actually a suburban area. But how do we protect that? And then on the south side, we've got about 3 or 4 lots that piggy up to the back, to the south side a little bit. But the east side is vacant. So we're currently in the process of working through that with planning. We realize the annexation is all that's going through right now. But we just wanted to make sure that we were committing to that, to the Planning Commission, and being as transparent as we possibly could. All of our homes will meet the city's minimum for brick and stone. We will be carefully, like I said, looking at the buffers. Just want to be here to answer questions as we move forward with this.
Thank you, Jim. Questions or discussion?
Jim, what's on that property now? Are those homes existing?
There's 2 existing homes, yes. And our intent with the plan is to preserve one of those as a clubhouse amenity. We don't know which one. In fact, some of the reconfiguration of that road that we're looking at might have changed which one we want to use. They're both fairly nice, but we think we might want to use one of those as amenities. So we'll be working with planning staff to go through some of those details as this continues to process through the annexation process.
What's the range on the number of homes based on the acreage and the?
We think probably we're somewhere around 160 to 200, something like that. Maybe not quite to 200, maybe 160 to 190. I can't tell you an exact number, Mayor, right now because we're looking at some of those features and we realize that's going to impact kind of the yield that we get. That would put us at probably around 2.5, 2.4 units per acre, something in that area. On the lower side of the suburban classification. Initially, we didn't think we were going to go that high. And so that's why I wanted to come up here tonight and explain that, just to kind of clear the record, basically, and be as transparent as I can.
Vineyards Court is about what, do you think?
I'm sorry, what'd you say?
Vineyards Court, are they about half-acre lots?
I think they're bigger than that.
I know Carolyn Lane is.
Carolyn Lane definitely is a little bit bigger. It's an older subdivision, so it's that's part of what we're trying to put together with this is open spaces in the right area around the perimeter. We understand that folks that buy a home just don't want that big of a lot nowadays, and so we're trying to piece all those things together. It's a little unusual to go through this, but we know we have to go through the annexation process before we come back to you for the zoning anyway.
Where do you see this entering in and out?
I think all of it will enter out at the enter and leave the site at the traffic signal up on Hartsville Pike. And it'll be designed in a way that will also allow through that boulevard entrance for the site to the east to come through it as well. That's a little bit of what changed things as we got into this process. We heard about some activity on that property to the east, and we want to make sure we weren't not accounting for that. We're not connected at all to that, other than we just want to make sure that we keep the door open and provide adequate infrastructure for that as we move forward.
Any other questions?
Thank you.
Seeing none, then we'll move on to the next item and we'll study this for our next meeting. Item number 4 is Tompkins Farm rezoning with preliminary master development plan. Which staff member is presenting this?
I am.
Jillian?
Yes, this is for the proposed Tompkins Farm development. This is a rezoning with a preliminary master development plan. The group is proposing to rezone the property from R40 low-density residential to R8 PRD, medium-density planned residential development. And the group does have a presentation they'd like to go through, so I'm going to switch it over to their slides.
Mike Stanton, representing 10 Properties. Thank you for allowing us this time tonight to go through our plan. We feel like we have a really good plan, and I think the best use of the plan. So I'll be real quick. There's I think it's about 17 slides, and I'll go through them really quick. And I'll try to answer some of the questions as I go that we got from the community out there. So just to give, I think everybody knows this, just some site context, this property sits between 25 and 31, fronting East Main and Timber Lane. The property's been owned by the Tompkins family since, I think, the mid-1800s. And the farm has been used mostly for cattle grazing throughout that time, believe it or not. The property, as we looked at it, has a lot of hydrological resources, which are predominantly protected in the plan that we're presenting tonight. And by working to protect these resources, the plan that we have is designed to have 65.5 acres, or about 60% open space, which we think is really good. Requires 28%, so we're nearly doubling, actually over doubling the required open space. The property is located in the general urban character area of Plan Gallatin, which was recently adopted, I think, by this body and is at City Council, as I understand it now, for a final vote. That plan allows between 5 and 15 units an acre, so you could have, based on that, 550 to 1,650 homes. That wouldn't make sense, and it wouldn't be right to do that in that area of town. But what we do have is a plan that we consider as low density. It's 2.78 units an acre, nearly half of the allowed density of this new designation. And if it were suburban, it'd be on the low end, which is 2 to 5 units an acre. The family has watched, the Tompkins family has watched growth happen all around them over the years and never opposed any other homeowner's right to sell their property and develop it. The family has been approached multiple times throughout the years to sell their property, but elected not to because they didn't have the right combination of buyer, builder, and plan. They realize now that they do, and the family's now has the right combination, would like to sell their farm like nearly all the other landowners around them have done over the years. The family's only asking that the same consideration be given them that was also given to others that developed around their property over the time that they've owned it. Plan Gallatin mentioned that. That's we looked at that when we were designing the plan. We also obviously looked at the features of the property. We believe in developing and designing plans that fit with the land, not trying to force something into something that doesn't make a lot of sense. So we used the Design Gallatin, or the Plan Gallatin plan, and some of the things in it as we were designing the plan. We all know Nashville's growing as a result of that. Suburbs grow. Gallatin has seen the growth and are anticipating continued growth, which is why the Plan Gallatin plan was implemented. So the design and character of the master plan that we're presenting tonight was patterned after the vision, design principles, and important outcomes from the Plan Gallatin vision. There were 10 important outcomes that was in the manual. We hit 3 of the top. We hit the top 3, and then we also hit 4 out of 10. The top 3 being preserving open space and natural beauty, protecting environmental features, improvement to local roads and highways, and improvement to sidewalk and connectivity. Again, it's in the general urban character area, as I said, which allows 5 to 15 units an acre. And this is our master plan. We do show a stub on Timber Lane. A fire department requirement that anything over 30 lots, you have to have a second entry and exit point. We do stub out on Mr. Binkley's property. We also have a stub out into the Tompkins family property. Mr. Binkley mentioned that. That's just not part of the land that we're purchasing. It's not for sale. I think that's their home place and have chosen not to sell at this point. We did design the plan to protect the natural and hydrological features, designed to provide the maximum buffer to existing homes. We designed so that the majority of the lots back up to open space, which really makes for premium lots, and people are willing to pay for that. Designed to provide, again, nearly 60% open space, preserving large tree masses and providing nice internal and external buffers. The attached single-family home, we strategically placed that in the center of the property so that, you know, it's not down at the front of East Main or not on Timber Lane. We felt like the best place for that's internal. Should be anybody that would only be affected by the attached product would be the people that live there. I always like to show this. This is just our plan over a Google image, Google image. We can print and make nice plans, but we like to show that it's really reality. You can see where we are preserving those streams and buffers. This is an example of the attached or detached single-family homes. They're from 1,740 to over 3,000 square feet. The attached single-family is between 1,627 and 1,814 square feet, 1 car and 2 garage. The end units will be 2 car, the internal units will be 1 car. A traffic study is not required at this stage, but we went ahead and not only did the traffic study, we also did a hydrological study so we knew the impacts that we needed to stay away from or be able to mitigate. So we've spent that money up front to understand the property and to better design the property. We also did the traffic study. It's been submitted to the city as well. Basically what they're asking us to do, and we agree, the road is narrow. We've measured 14 to 15 feet. I'm sure it gerrymanders up through there, and it could be some areas at 16 feet. But the traffic study and engineering also required us to bring that up to the minimum standard, 20 feet wide, which we've agreed to do. We think it's necessary, even for the people that's existing out there, I think it's necessary. There was a comment about the road widening taking property off of potentially their property. That's not the case. All the widening will happen on our side of the property. So it won't affect anybody over the other side of Timber Lane. In addition to this, there were 3 dedicated left turn lanes that did not make it in the plan. We'll have it in our resubmitted plan. We got the traffic study late. But it would be a left turn lane coming out of both of our entrances and exits on East Main and Timber Lane. And then at the end of Timber Lane, there's also a dedicated 3-lane road, which doesn't exist now. And then real quick, for some reason this is not working well. Who is 10 Properties? I think a lot of people, and sometimes rightfully so, talk about developers coming in and just making money and going back to their home states, and really there's no benefit for the city. But that's not who we are. We're all local guys. We live here in the county. I've had a Gallatin mailing address since I've lived here for going on 28 years. So I've seen a lot of the growth around and been a part of a lot of that growth around. Just some examples of things that we've done and some things we've got coming up, which are really exciting. One, we purchased Stratford Park back when it went through a bankruptcy situation. And it was in a distressed situation, and we went in, we brought this community up to standard, finished out the community, and all the lots are now built on. It's a really great community. My 2 daughters live there, so it's a very nice community. It's something that, you know, when you go into distressed properties, homeowners are in a really bad situation because things aren't maintained properly. There's no money to do things. So when we go in, it's really important that we bring it up to standards, which is what we did the next item in Fairway Farms. We bought that, again, at a bank situation. We spent $800,000 really quick to bring roads and open roads, walks, open spaces and buffers up to date. That was another bad situation. We turned out to be good. We've developed every single lot in there. The last 3 homes, the 3 lots that we own are now, we've sold them recently and their homes being built on it. So by the end of the year, every home in there will be complete. Fairway Farms was just voted the #1 community in all of Sumner County, which we feel like we were a part of that, as well as the community. They do a good job at maintaining their community. We also designed and developed Cumberland Point, which is 100% complete at this point. We also designed Newman's Crossing and was integral in the revising of the master development plan to bring Publix, the shops at Newman, twice daily, and I understand soon maybe a McDonald's out there. Exceptional asset for that area, we believe, especially if you saw the property before that. What you've got now, I wish we had a before and after on that one. This is something we're really excited about. We reinvest back in Gallatin. We believe in Gallatin. We believe in all the things that they do. And so we like to invest back where we do business. We purchased a couple of years ago 2 buildings, which were the old Crescent Furniture Company buildings. We purchased those, refurbished those. They're 100% fully leased out and doing really well. In addition to that, we've designed a master plan Aero Business Park. Let me go back here, which is, we own 3 separate parcels out there, total of about 90 acres, which we master planned just under 1 million square feet of warehouse, industrial warehouse. Phase 1 is currently under construction. I think the building is going to be delivered in the next week or so. So we're excited about that. We'll bring phase 1 on. It should be complete May of '24. That's the very first buildings that we're doing. But again, 937 square feet, couple that with 180,000 square feet, we'll almost have 1,200,000 square feet throughout in Gallatin, which is a huge investment. I mean, it's multiple millions of dollars that we pour back into Gallatin because we believe in where we do business. And this is just one example of, we bought the Examiner building. Probably all of you knew the Examiner building. It was in kind of disrepair. I went in, we've cleaned it up, replaced the roof, landscaped it, and then we had a international public company sign the lease with us. And, we've now sold that building, but it's just another example of owning property in the city of Gallatin. And with that, that completes my presentation. I will say that we have a community meeting August 24th between 5 and 7 at the Gallatin Country Club. We have gotten staff comments last Friday. We'll be working through those comments with staff, and I'm available for any questions you have.
Open the floor to questions for the applicant or just staff.
What are the future plans on that Enoch Way to connect through? Aaron?
I don't know that. We do have a stub road over that direction.
Yeah, I just struggle with the whole non-access to Hartsville Pike because trying to go towards Gallatin from that area is so difficult. Either turning left out of any of those accesses, or say you went right and went down to 31, you would never get left in the morning. So I don't know what engineering's thinking about off-site improvements or whatever, but if it connected through the Hartsville Pike, that feels like a better traffic flow solution. But with everything that's been built out in the county in the last several years, that 31 traffic is just awful pouring into Gallatin right there. And so either you have to go through downtown, which, especially with all the courthouse stuff, and is a mess now, but the traffic coming from out in the county and up in Kentucky and all that, I don't know how, nobody could turn left on 31 from right there at, I don't know, I call it Old Scottsville Pike. I guess it's East Main.
All I can say is that we engaged R.G. Phillips to do a traffic study, and they've looked at those intersections, and based on their recommendations, the only improvements that were required was left turn lanes out of all of those exit points. So beyond that, there was no other requirement based on the traffic study, based on the number of homes.
As far as the connection to Hartsville Pike, I know they're stubbing out here, and there was a stub out in Enoch Hills. I don't know if they're both stubbing to the same property or if there's a couple of properties they would have to go through to make that full connection.
Enoch Hills would be a pretty straight shot.
There is,
I don't know. I'm planning everybody else's property, but But it's not, it's not the number of these homes, it's the cumulative impact with the traffic that's coming through Gallatin on that area that just makes it difficult. And I know pulling out Timber Lane, I know pulling out across from Sunset is difficult, because that road's hilly, and it's, 'cause I went and looked at that Sunset intersection, and it's just, you don't have a long sight distance anywhere on that road. And typically, when you're on the other side of the road, where all the little neighborhoods are, you're tending to turn right more. But if you're on that side of the road, I think more people would be trying to turn left, and I just worry about that. Or if you're on the other side of the road too, you do have the option to go through down to 31.
I think there are connections. I think it's through Hamilton Place or
Yeah,
maybe
there
a couple
are,
of
but
those places.
then you have to cross over, you
31,
know.
yeah, understand that.
Mike, did you say you already have held a public meeting at Country Club, or is that upcoming?
It's upcoming.
August
It's August 24th. And we invited, a lot of people just put signs out on the property and hope they see it. We actually invited, I think it was 285 homes to the meeting. We wanted to make sure that everybody saw what we were doing.
During the public comment, several people raised a concern about a line of sight. I wasn't sure I understood if the line of sight concern was on Timber Lane or the intersection of Timber Lane and Main Street. I think I hear you saying it's Timber Lane and Main
Well, I
Street.
think they were both actually brought, towards the end of Timber Lane, there's a steep hill, and I guess that's a difficult area. I'm not that familiar with that. But coming out on Timber Lane, it kind of comes out at an angle. But
Yeah, and we talked with Nick early on in the pre-app meeting about that connection there at Timberlane and East Main, and maybe doing something to help with that kind of weird connection point there. And we're open to that.
Are you suggesting maybe realignment of Timber Lane as it gets closer to East Main so that it hits at a perpendicular angle?
Yeah, and that's the thought.
Okay.
We haven't looked, we haven't designed that, but that's something we're open to.
Does the topography lend itself to that improvement?
I think it does there.
so close to that hill, you know?
Wait, Mike, question on, talking about the hill in East Main that limits the site. I know you guys did a project over on Highway 25 that had a similar issue as you kind of crest the hill and come down.
Yes.
There's some traffic calming that went in with that pedestrian crosswalk that, I drive through there quite frequently.
It's Cumberland Point.
Cumberland Point.
Cumberland Point. So when you go, 109, take a left on Highway 25, that's, they pull the pedestrian crosswalk is at the top of the crest of that hill. And that was a similar problem as you come over with the traffic. And I drive through there. That seems like it's been an improvement to just getting the traffic to calm.
Yep.
Remember
Coming
the
over the
problem
hill.
with the pedestrian crosswalk there is there's a sidewalk.
Well, no, I understand, but and in this case, it's not a pedestrian sidewalk, but, traffic calming that on East Main that could help with that might be something to look at.
Yeah, we're open to that.
It's not a pedestrian issue, but it is a blind hill. So,
What time is that public hearing that you're having?
It's
with-
5 to 7. And just so you guys know how we do them, we'll set up stations. Some will.
Workshop.
Yeah, kind of, yeah. So if somebody's only interested in traffic study, or they're interested in drainage and kind of technical engineering stuff, though that's not, we haven't got quite to that level, but we understand it. We'll have stations, so if somebody wants to go to that station and that's all they're interested in, they're not wasting their time hearing everything. So we felt that over the years, we feel like that's the best that gives the homeowners, and they're free to come whenever they want between 5 and 7. So it's not like it's, if you start at 5 and you come at 6, you've missed a lot.
Right.
So we operate ours a little differently. And I think everybody likes it that way
Yeah.
too, a lot of flexibility.
another, go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say, this is probably a weird thing to bother me, but it does. If you're going down East Main and you're turning right into what I guess is the second entrance,
By Sunset?
the one across from Sunset.
We only have one entrance on East Main.
Huh?
We only have one entrance on East Main.
Okay, the other one is in Timberland. Okay, so it's the one across from Sunset. And so you're pulling in there. I hate being able to see a row of houses among all those homes. I hope it has a pretty broad entrance that is attractive and
We
there's,
haven't gotten to that design level, but we certainly would understand it. And
I know you've got Faraway Hills up there, but that to me is past all kind of that area that still to me has kind of the estate historic quality to it.
yes, ma'am.
I'd like to preserve that, which may mean backing off that first couple of houses further back or something. And I think the Timberlane people are right too, to worry about so many houses opposite their large lot homes. Because I think those are all pretty large lots.
Yeah, I think there's some that's closer to half acre, but they, for the most part, they're a little bit larger. And we're open to looking at that as well. It's not fixed. I think we told Mr. Binkley today that this is a plan in action. It's fluid. And we'll take comments back and we'll get back with the engineer. We'll look at how we can try to please as many people as we can.
A question on your single-family attached homes. You know, one of the things I'm seeing a lot is throughout town is just parking issues around those products where it's lending people to park on the street and cause problems. So
Yes.
Additional on-street or parking per guest would be,
Yep, agree with that comment. In fact, I told the engineer, let's look and see if we can do a parking lot or two, just to help with that. So we are aware of that as well, and we are certainly looking at that.
Any other questions?
Great presentation, thank you.
Yes, ma'am. You're welcome.
You said, just once again, so that everybody's aware, the date of the,
Yes, August 24th, Gallatin Country Club from 5 to 7. Come anytime you want. We have the room reserved till 7, so you can't show up at 5 till 7 and then expect to be there 30 minutes. That's the limit that we have on the room.
okay. All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Item number 5 is Snow's Family Residence, a rezoning without PMDP. Which staff members presented this?
Emily Lang, staff planner. This is an application to rezone 1.1 acres from R40 low-density residential district to R15 medium-density residential district located at 1547 Woods Ferry Road. The reason for this rezoning is that the applicant would like to build a villa-style 2-unit residence on the property and potentially a hobby shed. So if this rezoning is approved, then the plan would be to obtain a conditional use permit for a duplex in the which is allowed by conditional use permit in the R15 district, and then to come back to Planning Commission with a site plan. So the applicant has submitted a preliminary site plan that he did himself. He's going to engage an engineer to going forward, but I figured I could show you sort of what he's thinking as you consider the rezoning request. So this is the villa-style 2-unit residence with the hobby shed to the rear. And the residence would be brick. This is a plan for the hobby shed in the back and some elevations. And the applicant is here.
Thank you. If the applicant will step forward.
Hi, my name is Frank Snow. I live at currently at 618 East Main Street, and I'm looking at answering any questions you guys have.
Open the floor to questions.
my first question, just make sure I understood that right. So it's how many, it'd be a multifamily unit?
It'd be 2 units, a duplex,
Units.
basically,
Okay. And a,
and a hobby shop. It's kind of a hobby shop on steroids, but it's just optional right now. With the topography of the land right now, it's probably going to get shrunk down considerably. And I'm readdressing that right now while working on the plans.
what's around that? I'm not real familiar with that area.
around that area. So Woods Ferry is right by that new racetrack off of going to 109 to the, I'm not familiar with roads, I'm apologize. But all around that is R40, but to the south of it, there's R15, and to the north, there's some R20. I haven't updated those pictures yet on the plans that I've submitted. And then to the, there's a mobile home park, or it's a modular home park up to the north or to the top left of the property as it is. And then across the Woods Ferry Street, there's a line of trees, but then on the other side of that, it's farmland. Where you see the big red line, that's the floodway. On the left of that, it's just farmland. And then there's one house to the right of me, or on the bottom side of it, and then the rest of that is farmland over there. But it says it's zoned R40 right now, currently.
Behind 109 Wines and Liquors and the Los Cerritos Mexican Restaurant. As
Right.
the crow flies. Does that help?
Where at?
You know, I call it the Green River Bridge, but it's the, the River Mexican Restaurant, but it's Los Cerritos,
Okay.
that Mexican restaurant, and then up there you've got the liquor store.
Right.
And it sits back in between
Yeah,
the two of them.
and it's also going to the property, there's a huge, like a utility plant right there too. And then you turn
Right
on
back
Woods
from
Ferry.
where Poindexter's was.
Yeah,
I've got my bearings now, thank you.
okay.
This, well, no, never mind. Go ahead. Questions?
I guess just on the surface, my concern with it is, it doesn't really seem like it fits the area over there.
Right. The area as it is right now, I don't want to sound like that. Let me word it correctly. Going down it, I can see how it's R40 all the way through, and it's just like mostly what it is right there. But then a lot of the lots are R40, I feel like, because the land doesn't allow for smaller, if that makes sense. Like, it's a lot of slopes, it's really steep, there's like wetlands in the bottom of it. And I feel like that's why it's all primarily R40. But then when you get on the other side of the road, obviously, and then on the southern side, it looks to be like it could be more land-friendly for a lot more homes. But I'm just, this is for personal use. It's me and my mom and my sister live at East Main Street right now, and the house is really big. I just graduated college this May, and I graduated with a construction management degree. And I was just looking at moving her out of that home, primarily because it's like 3,500 square foot, and she can't maintain that by herself once I move out, because I handle a lot of the work for it. So that's what the real drive is she would live on one side and I live on the other. But then also she's a big dog person, so she has 3 huge dogs, and I love them, but I don't want to live with them for a long time. So I'd like them to have their own place and not have to worry
here
about-
because that might be TMI.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah.
I think what you're describing, the situation you're describing is a single-family dwelling with a mother's
mother-in-law.
cottage, or
Yeah.
mother-in-law cottage, or guest, cottage, or something like that. And that's certainly, I mean, with the hobby shop out back, that's what it appears to be headed towards. The only concern that maybe I have, and maybe others share, is that building a duplex looks like a future rental property for
Right.
2 separate families, unrelated. Maybe that's what it is. I don't know.
And I know the common misconception there is with duplexes, I've seen plenty, because I'm in the market for it, for a first house. But a lot of them are like really run down, and you don't really, basically the tenants don't take care of it or anything like that. This wouldn't be the case. I would be primarily, I don't want to own junk. I don't want that. I don't want the neighbors, don't want to add to an eyesore to the neighborhood or to my neighbors around me. So that's why I did a really good job, or I'm planning to do a really good job of making sure the elevations are up to standard or maybe even higher standard than what Gallatin expects, and to also just add a lot of street view to it. I know down the hill, so when you get up to the property, it's like a lower level and then it rises up to the top of the hill. And a lot of where the front section right by Bulls Creek, that's will be a huge tree line also that you wouldn't really see it from the street per se, or even from the neighbors' yards if looks were necessarily the case. But I do see the concerns with two separate families in the future. You know, people pass away. And, you know, I don't plan on staying in that forever. I'm being completely transparent, but it's just a future asset that I'm wanting to hold and seeing if I can get this processed.
Questions? Well, then we'll see it back in a couple weeks. Thank you.
Thank you.
Item number 6 is Beretta USA Phase 3 Site Plan Amendment.
Emily Lang, staff planner. This is an amended site plan for Beretta USA to construct private outdoor skeet/trap fields for product testing and demonstration on a portion of a 99.88 parcel zoned industrial restrictive district located at 1399 Gateway Drive. The fields will be located to the west of the, can't see it really well on this picture, but these fields will be located to the west of the existing manufacturing center. And these are the structures in the field, and all structures will be cladded with metal paneling.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay. If we have a representative for the applicant, please step forward.
Hello. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen of the Planning Commission. Thanks for having us. My name is Doug Linder. I'm the Vice President of Operations and Research and Development over, so basically, the Gallatin site here in Tennessee. So we're excited and thrilled to finally go on to Phase 2. For those that might have been involved in the initial discussions and approval of Beretta coming here. Site Phase 1 was kind of the facility and get that off the ground. Phase 2 was putting in the ranges, the shotgun ranges, trap and skeet, which obviously we're huge into in competition sports. So we're finally at a point to get this kicked off officially and get moving on it. Again, like it was mentioned, the big impact for us in these ranges is obviously marketing. Potential customers coming on board, showing them our products. Also film, video we can do on site as well. We don't have to go elsewhere. And then also employee relations. Again, this is not open to the public. This is only for Beretta use only. Any questions?
Well, this has been part of the plan ever since the original conception of Beretta. So this is great. Exciting. Questions?
What are neighbors saying about the sound?
They're good. Actually, we were very proactive. The gentleman, Logan Gillum is his name. He's not here tonight. He's actually traveling for work, marketing purposes. But we proactively sent out letters to the residents, and even some of the newer residents that's moved in since we've been there, and offered them a tour, offered them to come on site, ask any questions they have, concerns. We did have 3, maybe 4, looking at our car. Was it 4? 4 of them did come on site, and we let them tour the facility. We took them out to where the ranges are going to be, let them ask any questions, and we talked through the noise, what decibel based on their house, us shooting here, what they're actually going to hear, and it's basically going to be like a not even a truck going down the road. It's maybe like a car. It's 70 decibels at that range. And then we showed them the shot fall well within the range. So try to put their minds at ease that, and it's only going to be done during business hours on first shift, so it's nothing too late. So, no, that was a big concern of ours to make sure we had the community involvement and support behind us.
Good, thank you.
Welcome.
And the topography shows this is cut down and embankments up above it, right? I mean, it's, I'm looking at page C202.
I'm not the engineer, so I'm going to step aside.
Jay Olson with Barge Design. You're correct. These stations are located in the middle of the topography from the high point west of the manufacturing facility and the building. So there's definitely a high spot there.
Yeah, I mean, that's going to deaden the sound almost entirely. Any other questions?
Nope, excited to see it.
Looks good. We'll see you back in a couple weeks. Thanks.
All right, appreciate it.
Item number 7 is Nexus Subdivision Phase 1 South, Section 2, a final plat.
Val Martinez, planning staff. The owner and applicant are seeking approval of a final plat for the Nexus subdivision, Phase 1, South, Section 2. This plat would create 50 attached residential lots and 2 open space tracts and a portion of 2 private right-of-ways. Planning had minimal comments for these.
We have a representative for the applicant.
Jim Harrison with CSDG. We've reviewed the comments and are in agreement with all those, and just here to answer any questions.
Any questions?
Is it all consistent with previous approvals?
Yes, it
Yeah,
is.
okay.
Pretty procedural. We'll see it back in a couple weeks. Thank you. Item number 8 is Nexus Subdivision Phase 1 South, Section 6.
Val Martinez, planning staff. The owner and applicant are seeking approval of a final plat for the Nexus subdivision, Phase 1 South, Section 6. This plat would create 24 attached lots, 2 open space tracts, and a portion of 1 private right-of-way. Minimal comments again on this one.
Jim Harrison, CSDG. We've reviewed these as well, just here to answer any questions.
Any questions? Same as previous, I think. We'll see you back in a couple weeks. Thanks. Item number 9 is 750 Airport Road, Phase 1, a final plat.
Jim Carpenter, staff planner. The owner and applicant request approval of a final plat for 750 Airport Road, Lot 1, to dedicate a public water line and create a private road right-of-way on 29.67 acres zoned IR, industrial restrictive, located at 750 Airport Road. The owner applicant applied basically to create a private right-of-way to address this property off of and dedicate the public water line for the property. Staff has mostly minor comments on this. However, just kind of for purposes, there is the possibility that there may be additional right-of-way needed along Cairo Road, and wanted to put that in the record.
Thank you, Jim. We have a representative for the applicant.
Jim Harrison, CSDG, and we reviewed the comments. One thing we will do, and we've talked to Jim Carpenter about this, is we're going to need to rename the plat. It's not good to have an address in this plat because we're doing this private road, so we can set addresses off the private road. It'll get a little confusing, and Jim pointed that out. Just here to answer any questions.
Open the floor to questions.
It's pretty straightforward. I don't have any questions on that.
Seeing none, then we'll see it back in a couple weeks. Thank you. Item number 10 is Savannah Marketplace Phase 2, an amended preliminary master development plan and revised final master development plan.
The owner applicant requests approval of an amended PMDP revised FMDP for Savannah Marketplace Phase 2, commercial on 8.94 acres on PGC, plain general commercial, located at 2113 Gordon Crossing. This plan was originally approved in December of 2021. They are applying to add 6,000 square feet of restaurant space, 4,000 of regular space, and 2,000 square feet of patio, and a 2,000 square foot retail building as well. The applicant has received mostly minor comments from staff on this. We just want to make sure that the sidewalk is completed along Gordon Crossing to the property boundary. So that would be this portion right here.
All right, do we have a representative for the applicant present?
Corey Nelson with 615 Design Group. We reviewed the comments and agree with all comments from staff. Happy to answer any questions.
Open the floor to questions.
Is that what's under construction now? There's some construction in that general area?
Yeah, so the first building, which is on the bottom left, that one's being constructed right now. The other two, we're going through some changes based off, sorry. Okay. But yeah, so right now we're going to amend this, but yeah, that building is currently being constructed.
What is going to be in there?
I don't know if I have, I'm not sure if I have permission to say.
Oh.
Good evening. I'm Randy Hoffman. I represent Gordon Crossing LLC and also may look familiar on some of the other projects we have here. But we are also the master developer, Savannah Marketplace LLC. So kind of wearing two hats tonight.
You're not going to tell us anything either.
Oh, I'm sorry. To answer your question. Yeah, so we have a doggy daycare and a nail salon going in.
Oh.
I think have been announced, so.
Have to, but it's
Yeah,
fun to hear.
I'm willing to
Thank you.
share. So we're excited because there's several things happening out there.
He's just glad that Dodge having to answer the question about who the restaurant is, but he's not going to answer that.
Yeah, that one I won't answer. So, I'm here to answer any questions if there's any addition. Thank
You
you.
already asked them.
Any other questions?
I guess the only thing I had is,
Will you tell us?
Jim, you had just something about a sidewalk, making sure it was getting connected, but
We do, I did technically forget to mention this, we do have some architecture for, kind of some options here for architecture regarding the main restaurant building. Probably something we do need to discuss is maybe some preference here, or any questions regarding the architecture.
I like the one before that one.
Let me guess the restaurant?
The next one, Jim. I like that one. That's me.
I do too.
I can't see a name. There's not one there.
Well, if there are no other questions, then we'll see it back in a couple weeks. Thank you.
Thank you.
That was 11.
that was 10.
11 is Savannah Marketplace Phase 2, Section 2, Lot 4. Thank you. Yep.
Right. So the owner and applicant request approval of a minor plat amendment to re-subdivide Lot 4 into 4 commercial lots on 8.94 acres at 2113 Gordon Crossing. So basically, this is to accommodate the revised FMDP. Staff had mostly minor comments, but there was something I do believe the developer wanted to discuss with this.
All right, if the developer would come forward.
Good evening again, Randy Hoffman. There was 2 comments on the plat that I believe came from engineering, not planning, that we'd like to address. One was we made a request which would be a variance that the internal property lines are not required to have the PUDE easement along them. These will be going through, it's a parking lot, so it's going to be going through landscape islands and some of the bio and some of the other things. We do have the PUD on all the external property lines, but that was one of the variances that we would like to request. And engineering did ask for us to add those back. And then the other was, I think it was just something that was missed. There was a comment about the traffic signal at Gordon Crossing. The way that it was worded in the comment made reference to Gordon Crossing LLC being responsible for the traffic signal. That was never our understanding. It's 9 acres of a 50-acre plus project. It is our understanding that we had a pro rata commitment. How that's calculated is yet to be seen. And on the FMDP, I'm not sure if it's even on it, but on all approved, because again, I wear 2 hats, so going on to Savannah Marketplace LLC, there was a note as a condition of approval going all the way back to when we did the plat for Gordon Crossing. And it reads, properties developed within the Savannah Marketplace will be subject to pro rata contributions for the installation of the traffic signal at Gordon Crossing and Nashville Pike. Developers shall be responsible for traffic installation costs. So as a master developer, we looked at that as, for instance, Honda came in. It's my understanding that they made a contribution to go towards the traffic signal. I'm not sure about the other projects that have happened in there. This is a little bit different because I'm wearing the vertical developer hat on this project for just these 9 acres. We are okay with a pro rata contribution, but to put 100% of the cost on just 9 acres is not right.
Aaron, is that anything you know about, or is that something you got to get with them about?
So originally, when this started, I think there were maybe several developers, or there wasn't an overall developer of Savannah Marketplace and the Gordon's Crossing. And so we did receive a pro rata share from the Honda dealership because it was, like I said, individual ones. And I do need to get with our attorney's office on how we can get that to the overall developer to install that. But once there was an overall developer of Savannah Marketplace, then instead of the pro rata, that the overall developer would be responsible for the traffic signal installation. So we would just try to get the pro rata that we received. I think it was only the Honda. I would have to check, but how we can get that to the overall developer so that when it's warranted, it can be installed.
But Aaron, are you asking for this project to bear the cost of the rest of that traffic signal?
I would have to double check. I think the requirement would be on the Savannah Marketplace and not the Gordon Crossing. So like you said, there might be it might be missed with the wrong LLC that's responsible for that.
Okay.
I still have a question as to, we don't, as the master developer, I'm asking for Savannah Marketplace, not as Gordon Crossing. The note clearly says Gordon Crossing is responsible. The note that was added to the plat, asked to be added, clearly says Gordon Crossing is responsible. I agree with Aaron. I think that that's just a misunderstanding, and we can change that back to Savannah Marketplace and maybe, or say Gordon Crossing is responsible for a pro rata share. But there's still a question of, as the master developer of Savannah Marketplace, again, this comment was put in when we first did Gordon Crossing plat. We were part of the Honda deal. We were part of everything that's happened out there. There's been, I think to date, 7 different plats since we took over in 2016. To my knowledge, this is the first time this has been added to a plat. And so I just want clarification. It's on the master plan, and it says what I just read to you. But now putting on the plat and then making it the individual property owner's responsibility is a different conversation.
Did the other plats out there, the commercial out parcels, did they contribute as they were built? Did they contribute towards the signalized intersection?
They did not, no. Because I believe when the Honda came in, there wasn't an overall developer on that. And then that came in, and we did not receive pro rata for anything other than Honda, to my knowledge.
I'm not clear. How are you saying there's not an overall developer? There's been an overall developer on Savannah Marketplace since day one, hasn't there?
I'd have to go back.
Research.
Yeah.
Yes, I need to do some research on that because there was a reason why that there was a pro rata contribution from Honda, and there hasn't been since.
I'm sorry to put you on the spot like that. I guess my question should have been, I'd like us to look into that before 2 weeks from now and make sure that
Definitely. Yes,
Yeah,
sir.
and I'm sure we can work this out with engineering. It was the comment was a surprise to me. And so the two things that we wanted to address, we're fine with all other staff comments. It was those two things, the internal PUDE property line and clearing up or clarifying who's responsible for what percentage of cost.
Yeah. Aaron, do you want to comment on the internal PUDE property line tonight or wait?
Sure. I mean, typically with those, we would just have a note in the general notes section that it's a variance to whichever subdivision regulation requirement that would be. And that's how we've handled that before.
So do you, their request is to remove, if I understand correctly, their request is to remove the requirement for the internal PUDE?
Yes,
altogether.
that's my understanding.
It didn't exist with the other plan, which is essentially the same layout.
Correct. The difference here is that we've decided because of the standalone restaurant, they came to us and they wanted their own property.
Right.
Instead of 3 buildings on one lot, at that point, we had to carve out the lot separately for them, and we said, well, why don't we just do 4 buildings on 4 lots instead? But it doesn't jive with the overall plan to have a 10-foot PUDE by carving it up into lots.
I don't see a problem with waiving that for the internal circulation as long as we got on the exterior of it, so. But I guess, Aaron, just kind of going back to the traffic signal piece, so just, if all this property should have paid a pro rata share, but for whatever reason didn't, is it fair to put it on the one guy that's left standing? I don't know that is, but it's worth, looking into and seeing how it got there.
Yes, I'll look into that before next meeting.
The reality is a lot of the traffic that goes through there is, people who live in Hendersonville coming out of the Savannah subdivision. I mean, a lot of that traffic is going to use the lights, not even folks in Gallatin.
Well, and there's a lot of activity across the street as well.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
That was not there when we originally did the traffic signal plan.
That's true.
Yeah, the Northfield Church project's generating a lot more traffic than it
Yeah,
used to be.
they have police presence there a lot.
Yeah, yeah. And the signalized intersection will help with that for sure, but anyway, I think at the end of the day, it's just something to look into.
We'll have more information then in a couple weeks. Thank you.
Thank you all.
Item number 12 is 7 Brew Coffee, final master development plan.
Emily Lang, staff planner. This is an FMDP for 7 Brew Coffee on a 1.89 acre lot, zone PGC, Planned General Commercial District, located at 835 North Blue Jay Way. And this FMDP is consistent with the approved PMDP and has addressed conditions of approval. And what you haven't seen is just a landscaping plan that was submitted this go-around.
Okay, thank you. Do we have a representative for the applicant present?
Jim Harrison with CSDG. We have reviewed comments from staff and really don't see anything that we couldn't address. They're fairly minimal. Just here to answer any questions.
Open the floor to questions.
Is
Jim, are
part
you-
of this in the flood zone?
It is, but there's a offset compensation that we're doing that we presented as part of the PMDP, and that's included as part of this as well.
Essentially, when you do that, you're going to raise the building area out of the floodplain to get a letter
Cut
of
out
vision
some
on it.
material. We're cutting out some material to offset for any that we took away in the floodplain.
So when it's finished, the buildings won't be in a floodplain anymore.
There will not be, the buildings will be up and above outside the floodplain, but then there will be the same storage there that was there before for the 100-year flood.
Okay, any potential impact on the regulatory floodway that's adjacent? Okay. That's my only observations on it.
And this is all for the coffee.
Yeah, that lot, yeah, it's employee parking and drive-through facilities for the coffee shop. That lot is, as you can see on this drawing, we're utilizing about half of the lot just because of the impact that the floodplain has on that lot. It's good use for that lot because anything else would probably require more room. You need something fairly limited like this.
It seems to be a good use for the property. I'm still shocked there's that much demand for coffee.
It's kayakers. They're going to drink
Especially
like one of those espressos.
Somebody like me who's never bought a cup of coffee in their entire life.
Oh, don't say that.
I've made up for your.
They don't even have
Lack of
just coffee
purchases.
anymore, it's so many other things. What will we see on Gallatin Road?
You'll see primarily just the front facade of the building that's there.
Okay.
So you'll see the 7 Brew
Okay.
emblem, the one that's not the one up at the top left. The one at the top left is on the backside, but the one that has the signage down below that. And then you'll see, I guess actually, that's if you're standing straight out on New National Pike, you're really going to see the sides of the building more as you drive by the building itself.
It's predominantly a brick building?
Yes.
Okay. Real brick, not the fake stuff?
I think it's the facade brick, but it's done well. It's very similar to what was done on Taco Bell. You can't tell unless you get up going through the drive-through back in, yeah, but anyway.
Unfortunately, I can tell every time I drive by.
You and I notice it, but most people don't notice it, I think, if it's done right.
Yeah, for just planning, does that meet the requirements or does it? Okay.
Good use of the property. Any other questions?
I'll be clear and say, I'm glad people love coffee. That's very good for Gallatin's economy.
I didn't mean it that way. Okay, we'll see you back in a couple weeks. Thanks. Item number 13 is Patriot Angels Wedding Venue, amended preliminary master development plan and revised final master development plan.
Jim Carpenter, staff planner. The owner applicant requests approval of an amended PMDP, revised FMDP to approve an existing building on the property to be used as a wedding venue. The use has been added, or was added to the PMDP a couple of years ago. For Patriot Angels, on 42 acres, zoned MU, mixed-use district, located at 258 Harris Lane. Staff has had some concerns regarding the parking, the timeline of Harris Lane improvements with this project as a whole, and with the driveway and curb cut at the property, at the easterly property boundary here. And the applicant is here.
Thank you.
I'm Suzette Graham. I'm the owner of the property. Speaking of coffee, I have a coffee shop in my front yard.
It's very popular.
Doing very well.
Very popular.
It has become very popular. There's a lot of people that come out and use the property for picnics and wedding reveals and birthday parties, and there's swings out there, and so it's become a very popular spot. When we bought the property, and it's 262-258 was actually sold to Sid for the improvements on Harris Lane. So 262, it has a event space already on the back. If you see the log home from the front, this building was already on the back. We went in and we improved it for our daughter's wedding. And so it's a small space, 50, 60 people. And so the question is, how much improvement has to be done in order to be able to use it? When I went to get a business license for it, they said, well, you have to come back to planning to do the master plan. And so then we came into, well, now you need a parking lot, you need another reservoir pond, and you need, so it's a small space on a farm in this beautiful location, and the last thing I want to do is put a parking lot in the middle of this farmland. And so the events we have had, private events, people park out in the farmland. It's well lit. There's a fence there with lighting on it, and it's never been an issue. So everything was already there. We just improved it. It's much nicer, but everything was already present when we bought the property. Want to be able to use it, but then the issue came in that somebody said we were moving the driveway, and I'm like, but who said we're moving a driveway when we have a log home? So we have to keep the driveway to the home, and this event space is right behind that home. And so there's been a lot of questions. So I ask you because I've been by Bagsby's Ranch, which is much larger, it's huge, and there is no parking lot there. There's no gravel out in the farmland. People park on the farmland. And so I want to know, how can I get around having to do all of the concrete that has been suggested that I do in order to use this?
Something that I'm not an authority about, just enough to be dangerous, I think, is a lot of these venues are falling under this agritourism exemption or allowance. Anybody in planning got, it's created some issues because that.
I have agriculture exemption currently because of the number of animals that I have out there. The chickens, of course, I sell eggs. I have lots of product from our gardens. So, and of course, the coffee shops out there and the event spaces are out there. So currently, that's what I have.
I'm not sure how that would affect our zoning ordinance. Agritourism, I saw when I worked in Kansas a lot. That was very popular out there. Here, I don't know that we need concrete, but you need a dustless, free,
Like what
solid
Epic did
surface.
with the gravel.
Yeah, that's kind of, because we can't just have cars keep parking on grass. Eventually, that will become an issue. But I don't know that solid concrete is exactly what you want to do out there.
There are other venues that are doing that, and that's why I feel challenged because they've been doing it.
And I don't know, some of them have been there for a long time. Some of them were in the county. So I don't know, I don't know the history of Bagsby because that's been there longer than I've been here. But right now, just according
The last decade.
Yeah, yeah. So that's something we'd have to, based on our zoning ordinance now, that's what the requirement is.
I've been out to see a lot of them, and that's what they do. They park in the grass, they park, and there's, for the events that I've had, and it's not a huge space, so it's not something we'd use all the time. But we've had them park out in the grass. There's never been an issue. There's never been a stuck car, or even when it's raining, we've never had an issue.
How many people come to the venue?
Maybe 40 or 50. It's not very big. It's beautiful because we redid it for my daughter's wedding. But the space is in the middle, and then of course the yard is all around it, and the yard's gorgeous. It goes down to the stream, the brook runs through it. It's a very, very pretty space. And last thing I want to do is tear it up,
How do you get there now?
Down the driveway.
You have a driveway now.
There is a driveway. Currently, there is a driveway, yes.
So the comment about the driveway, when they originally came in with a plan for the coffee shop and the office building, I don't remember if it said that the house was being removed, but there was a note on the plans about the driveway being removed, and the sidewalk and improvements along Harris Lane essentially showed that residential driveway being removed.
Unfortunately, I didn't represent myself for that, and I had no knowledge of them saying I'm moving a driveway. but I have a home back there. Why would I move the driveway?
And I understand that, but that was the plan that came in for the coffee shop and the office space. And then the adjacent property, which is the Liberty Creek Townhomes, to try to meet the spacing requirements for a collector street, we actually had them shift one of the driveways towards this property to meet those driveway separations. So as a single-family residence, that driveway is fine, but it was not originally on the overall plan for these lots. And now this is a different use, and having that driveway there or improving that driveway would not meet the spacing requirements for a collector street. And that's why the comment came from engineering to not have that connection. Now, they could utilize the driveway connection shown for the office park and basically come in the office, and they're already showing a parking lot being created, so you could come out to this and then continue down the existing driveway back to the venue. But this is adding a driveway that was not shown on the original plan, and that's why we had that comment.
As of right now, the commercial building is not being built. It took a year through planning, and then we started to push. We put $250,000 into putting in the foundation work on it, and then COVID hit. Now it costs twice as much to build, and I happened to come into a huge building that I just got a really good deal on. So right now, we're not going to build. If you've been out there lately, you will see that we are pushing the dirt back, much to my dismay. But because obviously we want it to be beautiful out there, but we're not going to build currently.
So Aaron, I guess if they amended to show that that parking lot's not going to get built and the connection for the office building is gone, does that change the conversation about the residential driveway?
If it stays residential, it's fine as is, but they're changing the use on it. I think if we still would want to have the driveway spacing from the adjacent property, because now that's approved. So we'd want to make sure that that meets the major thoroughfare plan.
Even though mine was there first.
It was there first as a residential driveway, but like I said, when the plan came through, it showed it as being removed. That's the way that I think that, I know at least engineering took it as that driveway being removed, and then now it's going back in on something that's other than a residential home.
Residence is still there, though.
I understand, but like I said, the notes and the way that it was drawn on the original plan showed it as being removed, and that's where the issue is.
Other questions? Could we have, for the next meeting, could we have that submittal from years ago where it did show the driveway being removed? Okay. And if there are no other questions, we'll see you back in a couple of weeks. Item number 14 is Sky House Townhomes, final master development plan.
Val Martinez, planning staff. The owner and applicant are seeking approval of an FMDP for Sky House Townhomes. This will be located at 656 Chambers Street and 507 DeMoss Street. This project has actually been through before. It was deferred because we needed more information regarding architecture. This FMDP would create 7 single-family detached dwelling units on Chambers Street and 1 single-family attached on DeMoss. Both properties are zoned R6. These were the submitted elevations. This one is for the Chambers Street, showing all brick with some, believe that's siding. I can't really see. just at the top portion. This one would be meeting the 70% brickstone requirement. And then the other one is 100% brick on the front and sides with the rear being siding. Apart from that, it was pretty minor comments on planning side.
Thank you. Do we have a representative for the applicant?
Drew Ferguson, Greenlow Design, here to answer any questions.
Open the floor to questions.
I think the architecture helps understand it much better. The siding that's on the one unit, is it a hardy board siding or is that being proposed as a vinyl product?
I'm not, if we can go back, I can try.
Oh, it says hardy on it. Just zoomed in on it.
Yeah, it's kind of hard to read, but.
Yeah, no, it says it's a hardy 7-inch, so.
Okay.
Okay. That answers my question.
Other questions? Well, seeing none, then we'll see you back in a couple weeks. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other business to address? Jillian?
I got it.
Oh, yes.
I want to say something about the last issue. On Long Hollow Pike, there's a wedding venue there. I went to it some time ago.
That's what I think we're talking about.
Bagsby.
There's no paved parking lot. We parked in a field.
Right,
Yeah, and our golf cart picked us up.
right.
It's Bagsby.
Is that in the city?
It is.
See, the reason I asked about the whole agritourism thing was we were trying to make them do the kinds of things that we're talking about, and then they came back with, oh, no, we don't have to because we're an agritourism business.
And I assume that's by the
Which
state.
our authority.
Is that a state aspect? Because that's not a municipal thing. That's,
I don't know. I don't know enough about it to.
yeah, I don't know
talk
enough
it.
about
I do
that.
struggle because I know like there was another historic home that wouldn't have a restaurant there, but the parking requirements actually would not work on that lot. And so therefore we lost the opportunity at a really cool way to preserve and
maybe if-
restore our property.
These are good points. So I think maybe if we could if we could circle back to these
Are
points.
you going to correct something I said?
No, I'm really agreeing with you. If her venue falls under agritourism, then she does not have to abide by our zoning. That's state law.
Oh, okay.
So, but that's up to her to determine that and bring it to us. I was not going to get up here and.
I'm not crazy, thank you.
No, that is why Baxby has been able to get away with a lot of things that we don't agree with as a city because they fall under agritourism. But she has to run it a certain way to be within the statutory support for that. So.
Yeah, it has to have the support to defend that.
Correct.
I guess
Which would not coexist with an office building, but if they're not going to do the office building and go this way.
It just depends. I mean, I'd have to go back and look at it, but we did a lot of research on that with Bagsby because they wanted certain things, planning wanted certain things to happen there, but we couldn't legally require them to do it. Now, they have to follow the building codes, but as far as our zoning ordinance, if they're running under agritourism, yeah, we're out of luck there.
That makes sense. I guess probably the only thing I would ask, since the applicant left and probably really would have liked to have heard this part of the conversation, if.
I think she's out in the hall. Someone may see her when they leave. One of y'all might be able to snag her, pull her away from talking to. You might just tell her one-on-one, if you can get her to come in here and talk to her.
What?
You want to, Latisha? Eeny, meeny, miny, mo.
I mean.
Just Jillian, after the meeting, if you'll talk to her, yeah, that'd be helpful.
Okay, any other?
I got another question on Tompkins Farm. Do I need to recuse myself because I have an issue with that project? Because I live on Share Circle and I leave Sheriff Circle about 7:30 every school day, and I turn left. And I have trouble getting out on the main street because of the traffic coming off of Scottsville Pike.
That's not a direct conflict, but if you feel like it would compromise your ability to be objective on it, then you would have to make the decision, but nobody would
That
tell you
makes
to
you
recuse yourself.
informed,
What?
makes you informed through personal
Yeah,
experience.
that's not a direct
Of
conflict.
course, when I get to Scottsville Pike, there's no way that I can turn left. I can turn right pretty easy, but I cannot turn left.
Well, if you don't recuse yourself, share with us that information.
That's almost
in a
exactly
couple
what I
weeks.
was saying, wasn't it? I'm not far down.
We'll just-
Add a lot of traffic to it.
Well, we'll just, I think that would be good discussion in a couple of weeks when we tackle this then.
Adjourn?
Yeah, is